My ex-wife called the police on me and said our daughter was afraid to come home. When the officers asked my daughter why, she didn't point at me. She pointed at the man standing behind her mother and whispered. He said Daddy wouldn't believe me. The police asked us to sit down. My ex-wife stood with her arms crossed. Her new boyfriend stood just behind her shoulder, close enough to touch. My daughter wouldn't look at either of them. She kept her eyes on the floor, hands clenched in the sleeves of her hoodie. She refuses to go back with him, my ex-wife said. She's terrified. The officer turned to me. Has there been any violence? He asked. No, I said immediately. Never. My daughter flinched, not at my voice, at his. The man shifted his weight, smiled. I've only tried to help, he said. She's sensitive. Kids get confused during divorces. My daughter shook her head slightly. I noticed it because I was looking for anything. The officer knelt in front of her. Sweetheart, he said, can you tell me what you're scared of? She swallowed. Then, barely loud enough to hear, she said, he watches my door at night. The room went silent. The officer asked her to explain. My daughter hesitated, then spoke fast, like she was afraid someone would stop her. He stands in the hallway, she said, after Mommy goes to sleep. He says he's just checking. The man laughed softly. That's ridiculous, he said. I checked the thermostat. Kids imagine things. The officer raised a hand. Let her finish. My daughter nodded, encouraged. He says if I get up, she continued, he'll tell Mommy I don't love her. My ex-wife turned sharply. That's not true, she said. You never told me this. My daughter finally looked up. I tried, she whispered. You said I was jealous. That word hung in the air. Jealous. The officer wrote something down. Has he ever come into your room? He asked. My daughter's lip trembled. Not inside, she said. He just stands there and listens. I felt my hands curl into fists. The man stepped forward. This is getting out of hand, he said. She's scared because her father's filling her head. That's when my daughter did something she had never done before. She screamed. Her scream echoed through the small living room. The officers flinched. Show me, one said gently, where he stands. My daughter pointed toward the hallway. Her fingers were trembling. The man's smile faltered. He glanced at my ex-wife. Her face was pale. The officer walked down the hall carefully, motioning for the man to stay put. He opened my daughter's bedroom door slowly. Nothing, just the nightlight casting shadows on the walls. Just silence. Then the officer knelt beside my daughter. Has he touched you? He asked. She shook her head. No, she said. But I hear him whisper. He tells me things. Things I shouldn't tell anyone. My ex-wife finally stepped forward. Sweetheart, tell me what he says, she urged. My daughter's voice dropped to a whisper. He says Daddy wouldn't believe me if I told. So I have to keep it a secret. I felt my chest tighten. Fear and anger mixed into a knot I couldn't untangle. The officer exchanged a look with his partner. Noted, he said. We need to document everything. The man's composure cracked. I don't know what she's talking about, he said. Stop accusing me. My daughter flinched, but she didn't back down. For the first time that night, she was heard. The officer pulled out his notebook. He looked at the man directly. Sir, has anyone else noticed this behavior? The man hesitated, then muttered. No, the officer continued. We spoke with the neighbors. Your visit's late at night. They've seen you lurking outside her window. The man's face turned pale. You can't prove that, he shouted. But the officer already had more evidence. Surveillance footage from the apartment complex showed him pacing the hallway late at night, peering into my daughter's room multiple times. The man went silent. My daughter clutched my arm. I told you, she whispered. He watches. The officer turned to my ex-wife. We're placing a temporary restraining order, he said. She cannot be alone with him, not until this is resolved. The man tried to protest. I just watched him shrink in front of us. For the first time, the tension shifted. He wasn't in control anymore. My daughter finally let out a shaky breath. The officers stayed until she felt safe. And in that moment, I realized how brave she had been to speak the truth, even when no one had believed her. The restraining order was served immediately. The man had to leave the apartment. No contact, no explanation. My daughter sat on the couch, finally relaxed. Her small hands clutched mine. "I thought you'd never believe me," she whispered. I held her tighter than ever. "I always do," I said. "And I always will." The officers stayed long enough to ensure she felt safe. They explained the legal steps and that the man would face investigation if he returned. The ex-wife sat quietly. I could see the regret on her face. Not because of what had happened, but because she hadn't listened sooner. Later that night, when my daughter finally fell asleep, I sat in the living room thinking about how close it had come. How easily fear could have silenced her forever. How quickly trust can be broken. How important it is to believe a child when they speak. The man's threats ended with a single phone call and a few hours of paperwork. But the lesson, that would last a lifetime. The next morning, my daughter woke up smiling. Small, cautious smiles, the kind that come after a long night of fear. We talked about boundaries, safety, and courage. About speaking up, no matter how scary it feels. She looked at me and whispered, "Daddy." Thank you for listening. I realized then that bravery isn't always about fighting monsters. Sometimes it's about being heard. This is Nightline, and sometimes the scariest truths are the ones we try to hide behind closed doors.